Welcome back to the Simployer Studio, live from Oslo Business Forum. The world is rapidly transforming to a more high-tech and digital world. The way society functions is also rapidly changing, and how will this affect the workplace when it comes to growth and work life? Kjell Nordström, economist and ranked as top 10 management thinkers in the world, is joining me now, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How fast is the wheel really spinning?
A little bit faster than before, but no big drama. Technology has affected us for a long time, about 200 years-ish, since industrialization. So here we go again, in a way.
You wrote a book, Funky Business, that many people have heard about. 20 years ago this year.
Yes.
Is it still relevant?
The remarkable thing, we updated the book 2007, and it's called Funky Forever. That when you look at the text today, you recognize the thoughts, but it's almost like an oracle has written it, in the sense that it's checked on the development. Maybe we underestimated the power of digitization, but other than that, I think we got it roughly right.
Today we're on stage here at the Oslo Business Forum talking about the art of making money.
Yes.
What's the secret?
The secret is to create a monopoly position. Doesn't matter whether you sell ice cream, operate hotels, or do something else. The idea, the underlying idea, create that moment in time when you are perceived to be totally different.
But this must appeal to leaders. And how does management change in these times where you have to have all of these things on top of your mind?
I think management and to own a company is different from managing a company, and sometimes we mix these things up, that the founder of a company, the person with the original idea, does not necessarily have to be later on the manager of the company. It's like two different jobs, if you see what I mean. Sometimes, like in the case of, I don't know what, Spotify, both the inventor and the manager happens to be the same person still today, but that's an exception. That the actual creator also has the abilities to manage the operations.
But this brings me over to the responsibility you have as a business owner, that you need to let it go, sometimes trust other people. Trust? How important is trust?
I would say trust is key. In anything that we human beings do, whether it's the military service or in a school, university or a company, without trust, actually human interaction stops. And at the end of the day, it boils down to human interaction. If I don't trust you, I go like, no. It just stops. So trust is key.
But is trust different? You've worked with many people.
Yes.
Putin, for instance, you work with business leaders, you're Finnish yourself, you work with people in all over Scandinavia, all over the world. How is it different from Scandinavia to China to Europe and doing business?
We are an extreme case here in Scandinavia, and actually the Nordic countries, all 5 Nordic countries, of high trust societies. There are some others, like Japan. There's a very high trust within the Japanese society today. So we are not alone on planet Earth doing that thing, but we stand out in the European context and we stand out in the global context in the sense that here we actually trust each other.
But are we naive in a sense?
To a certain extent, that's the price you pay, that sometimes when you trust people, they let you down, or an institution let you down. But we cannot give in. We have to press on, keep the trust.
But how do we, there are so many changes going on, and leading a business, leading people, how do we bring the people further? When we have the workforce we can't exchange them all.
I think the big change that we are seeing to some extent already, and that we will see in the years to come, is that we will hire people more for attitude than we have done historically. Historically, we hired people for their skills. Whether they had been with McKinsey or they had a degree from the London Business School or something fancy. We looked at their CV going like, wow, that's our woman. Now, increasingly, we look for personalities, attitudes, characters. The knowledge component we can fix. Because today knowledge is available at your fingertips, in a software. You can send someone to training in Holland for 2 weeks. You can fix that. So we will hire people more for attitude.
But this is about continuous learning. It has a price as well.
Yes.
And do people get more selfish when you see like, where do I fit into this company? So the whole collect is forgotten about?
You can be selfish. Of course you can, and maybe we are to some extent, also here in the Nordic region. However, any selfish person wants to be a part of a context. Might it be the local community, Grünerlykka, or might it be Hydro? You want to be a part of something. All of us want to be. That's a human trait. There are very few hermits, people that want to be alone. Basically just alone. Very few of us.
But you talk about closing the gap.
Yes.
Which is quite relevant to this. How do we do that?
Closing the gap between?
Closing the gap when it comes to learning and the need for new input.
Yes, I think two things on this. Education, the way we thought of it when you and I were kids.
I'm a bit younger than you, I must say that.
Yes, you are, but it was the same principle that you were supposed to go to school, learn a lot of things, and then you should live of those things for a long period of time. That was the whole idea, and to a certain extent still is. I think what we gradually see now is that we have to train kids, young people, students, to learn how to learn. It's more important to learn how to learn than to learn things, because we will have to learn things all the time and relearn and relearn again. So we shouldn't fool people and go like, this is the ultimate truth you have here. No, it's not, because 5 years later we will rethink.
But is it the employer's responsibility to give this knowledge for people to develop, or do you need to go out and take responsibility for your own learning?
It's a mix, but there is a certain self-interest for a company to do this for their employees. Absolutely a self-interest for any company that wants to be profitable. You have to do a certain amount of training and retraining. However, though, any single individual also has a certain self-interest in, might it be language training or understanding new technology or what have you. It's a mix thereof. But I think the employer plays a very significant role.
Kjell Nordström, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back here from the Simployer Studio very short.